The United Nations Climate Change Conference, otherwise known as COP28, is winding down in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. Last week, Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu led the country to participate in the summit and was able to seal a number of deals with multilateral partners across sectors of the country's economy. The Nigerian leader was also offered a seat on a platform to speak about one of the major concerns of the conference, which had to do with greenhouse emissions and how the most industrialized nations can scale down activities that are contributing to the current unsustainable levels of global climate change. Many experts have applauded Tinubu's submissions in Dubai, but some are saying that beyond speaking well about these issues, Nigeria must now begin to present more meaningful approaches to resolving the global climate change question. Good and efficient politics, they say, is everything in the Committee of Nations. To revisit Nigeria's participation at this key conference, we are now being joined here by Dr. Nnamaka Obiaraeri, a development and policy analyst, financial engineer, and investment banking executive. Many thanks for joining us. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Thanks.
All right, well, let's start by revisiting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's visit attendance at COP28. He held a lot of bilateral meetings. For one, which I'd like for you to talk about, was him witnessing the signing of an accelerated performance agreement between Nigeria and Germany to improve Nigeria's electricity supply. I'd like for you to help us, assess that.
Thank you so much. It was a very good outing for Nigeria. But for me, the electricity part of it is what is most important for Nigeria. We have 65% of Nigerians who do not have access to electricity. Look at Egypt. Over the last 8 years, they've been able to ramp up generation by about 25,000 megawatts. Nigeria, we have been at a level of 10,000 to 12,000 over the last 50 years. And we're only able to evacuate about 5,000 megawatts, which is not enough for a country of this size that is seeking to industrialize. And of course, we have some of the best raw materials that can be used to generate power at the cheapest cost. We have coal, which we are not tapping into because of the issues of climatic change. The same Western countries and developed countries are tapping into it. China, for example, consumes almost about 3.9 billion tons of coal. 40% of Chinese industrial complex is being fired by coal. The same Western world is asking us, curb down on fossil fuel. The level of aviation emission in California alone is bigger than what Nigeria emits annually. So it's good that we signed an agreement with Siemens, Germany, but we also need to fast-track execution. One of the problems we have in Nigeria is we are very, very good at talking, signing agreements, but the rigor in implementation is not there. If Egypt could do 25,000 megawatts in 8 years, Nigeria could replicate the same thing. Interestingly, we have gas in abundant supply. In fact, Nigeria is actually a gas-rich country, not fossil fuel-rich country in the real sense of it. What are we doing to stop the gas flaring? President Tinubu promised that they will stop it by 2030. We've been at this since 2000. 5 years rolling plan. We will stick the can down the road. What measures are we going to put in place in practical terms to ensure that we stop flaring by 2030? It's not just enough to just sign it, pronounce it. Yes, we are very, very good at doing this. But we must put timelines, timetables. What are the requirements? When are we going to do it? Who will do it? How is it going to be funded? Sign agreement. We've signed this agreement. I've been under Buhari. It was there. Yet, we've not.
I was going to remind you
Yes.
that in 2019, we signed with former, German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Exactly.
And not only that, a year after that, the chief of staff to the former president Obiaraeri went back to Germany with a number of ministers to meet with the Siemens people.
Yes.
The new agreement that we're told have been signed didn't even acknowledge what was done before.
Exactly.
Because for me, to acknowledge it would mean that you will have learned from widening work. So what do you think the new government of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu should learn so that this doesn't turn out to be just another MOU, signing activity and nothing to show for it by next year?
Like I've always said, you cannot invent the wheel.
Yeah.
The wheel is spherical. You only change the aluminum or metal or whatever alloy that is. You cannot make a triangular wheel or a square wheel. The wheel is always spherical. Yeah. You cannot reinvent it. What did Egypt do? What does it take
get it right?
To get it right? We need to look at what others have done. I'll give you an example of what Obasanjo did. We were having this problem on the Nigerian pension fund regime, corruption, everything. Obasanjo came to power. In 2003, he impaneled a private sector-led committee by Fola Adola. They traveled around the world, mostly to Chile, to look at what they did. And they remodeled it and modified it to suit our contemporaneous need. That was how the Reform Pension Act came to be in 2004. Today, that has been one of the best things that have happened to Nigeria, because most of the borrowings of the federal government or domestically is from what the proceeds of that act. And interestingly, we've not even done anything to deepen it. Why? Because if you look at Chile, pension fund to GDP, 75%. South Africa, the same thing. GDP of about $375 billion. Pension fund asset of $275 billion. Nigeria's own is just like by 5%, which we can actually ramp up. I just give you an example of borrowing from other climes. Go to Egypt and look at what they've done. What was the whole essence of COP28? Climatic change. Governments agreeing on what they can do to limit temperature rise globally, and then how they can tackle the impact of global change, climatic change. What did Egypt do? It's not just enough. In Nigeria, we are suffering the consequence of flooding. We have drought and deforestation in the north. Egypt is 95% desert. But Egypt, even Saudi Arabia, one of the things they did to curb desertification, tackle drought, was to go on date palm plantation planting. Saudi Arabia started 2006. Today, they've done 1 million hectares. Nigeria is the only place in the whole wide world where the date fruits grow in the wild twice a year. Naturally, just except with palm tree that we've messed up. Yeah. In 2019, I was privileged to speak at the PDP Governors Forum as one of their guest speakers. I shared with them this vision of what Saudi Arabia did, what Egypt did. Egypt today makes average of about $10 billion exporting date fruits from a desert. I said 19 governors of the north, you don't need to wait for Bola Tinubu or Buhari, can dedicate 50,000 hectares of land under a private-public partnership. It does not cost them one dime from fiscal revenue. In 1 year, they can cultivate 1 million hectares of the date plantation across the 19 northern states. One, it will help to curb desertification. Two, it will provide avenue for agro-pastoral arrangements where the nomadic herdsmen can actually put in their cows to be able to graze, have water, and then provide the manure for the plantation. And we have the hybrid date fruit that can grow within 4 years. In the next, if they had done it in 2019 or even 2020, by 2026, we'll have been generating nothing less than $12.5 billion from the north, from the date fruits. And this is for over 70 years. It will checkmate the certification, provide revenue, create 2 million jobs, help us even to cut drought. Look at the issue of flooding. What are the issues of flooding here in Nigeria? We don't desilt, we don't dredge. Yadua awarded a contract for $39.5 billion to dredge from Escravos through Warri to Koko all the way to Onitsha to Jeba. That contract was not executed. Jonathan came in, did not follow up. Today, if we dredge our waterways from the Escravos, from One to the waterway, we will curb flooding. And we also create waterway transportation, which is almost 80%. It will reduce cost of transportation and help us to move things, it will evacuate agri products. But nobody is thinking about it. It's good that we've come back from COP28, but we need to sit down and look inwards. What are the effects? Nigeria is not even emitting much in terms of fossil fuel emission. That's right. We must utilize what we have. We talked about power. Gas is good. What are we doing to stop gas flaring? What are we doing to even explore and process the non-associated gas reserve that we have? Look at Pakistan. Pakistan does not have gas like us. Pakistan has over 2,950 CNG filling stations across Pakistan. Pakistan has over 3 million cars that run on CNG. CNG is 20% less the cost of petroleum. Yet, Pakistan has done it. We can do it here in Nigeria. I worked with a private sector group, $1 billion arrangement. that will have been funded. Only the government will support them to provide enabling legal environment across the 774 local government areas. Nothing is being done. NIPCO came up with another, it died. We need to sit down in this country and ask ourselves, what do we want to do? We don't need all this jamboree, all this. See, we know what we want, we know what we need. We know what we need to do to build up this economy. We have the best coal in the whole world. Surface coal from Kaba to Enugu to Jeba. That is the lowest sulfur content. We can mine and use our coal to fire our power plants and do clinker for cement and everything. But we are not utilizing it. We have gas that we can tap in. We don't even need to pipe it all the way to Morocco. Use it in clusters to build industrial company. We are not doing it. So we need to sit down, ask ourselves, what do we do here as Nigerians? Tapping into what we have. Look at the crude. 2011, under Jonathan, we are doing 2.4 million barrels a day. Yes. Today, we are struggling to do 1.5 million. And people are not even bothered to ask ourselves, do you know that today, we can say, if OPEC is doing 1.8 million barrels, we have a plan to ramp up reserve to 40 billion barrels reserve. Do 4 million barrels a day. Assuming OPEC quota is 1.8 million barrels. We can do off OPEC quota for most of the refineries we have in Nigeria. From Warri to Port Harcourt to Kaduna. Kaduna, they shouldn't waste their time trying to rebuild Kaduna. Kaduna uses the crude from Venezuela. They should scrap it. Warri is there. Port Harcourt is there. Between Warri and Port Harcourt, we have almost about 210 million barrels. Kaduna should be scrapped. It does not make any economic sense. Kaduna cannot refine any crude from Nigeria. It uses heavy crude. Kaduna refinery is the only off-site refinery that exists in the whole world. In America, they've scrapped all off-site refineries. I don't know why they're still keeping that Kaduna. Trying to waste $589 million on it. Over the last 20 years, we wasted $7 billion trying to revive what they could not revive and that have been hindered by corruption. If they want to do it right, we have proposals that can help them. We can do our OPEC quota. You are talking about, if we are refining here, it will be cheaper. It's not true. It will not be cheaper. I'll give you an example. OPAC is there. Nile Delta Refinery is there. Watersmith is there. They are refining basically diesel in Nigeria. Their diesel is not cheaper than imported diesel because you have to put in the cost of production. The only cost that is different that will be eliminated is the cost of freight from offshore. Of course, that cost of freight.
We just had an
expert. Even that cost of freight.
Dr. Faribe,
even that cost of freight can even be accommodated because the refineries can start to give discount more than what Nigerian refineries can do, which will eliminate that. If we want to build it in a way that refineries in Nigeria will give us a price that is very competitive, they are doing in Saudi Arabia. Very simple. Those refineries that we have should be privatized. NNPC should sell 75% of their holdings to deep-pocketed local investors. And I'll tell you how they will do it. If they do it, hand it over to them. Remove their hand. Those local refineries, local operators can actually collocate 160,000 barrels of another new refineries within those sites. Let me tell you, to build 160,000 barrels a day refining capacity refinery will cost us about $8 billion. $6 billion. But if you look at this total $6 billion, 50% of it are things that have to do with storage, off-site location, which is already in place. So collocating new refineries there will have the cost by 2. If we have those new refineries there, under this JV arrangement, cost plus defined margin of 20%, I will tell you, cost of producing refinery in Nigeria, producing crude is about $20 to $31 per barrel, cost of production. To refine in such refineries is about $10 per barrel. If you put $30 per barrel, the upper band, plus $10 per barrel, the cost of refining is $40 per barrel. If you even put 20% margin on it, which is defined, is about $50 per barrel. Using the official rate of 1,170, it will give you average cost of 365 naira per liter production plus margin. 365. So if we decide to do it this way, under this special arrangement, cost plus defined margin, NNPC gives them refined crude based on this, and all their products will be sold in Nigeria here. We can actually have the cost.
Can that apply to Dangote?
It can't apply because Dangote is a private sector defined commercial entity. This other arrangement is a PPP arrangement where the NNPC says, okay, we own these refineries. We are getting local players. Maybe the likes of Taros, Sahara Energy, come together, form a consortium. We are going to cede 75% of these fines to you. On one arrangement, we will collocate 160,000 new barrel on it. We will give you crude, but you can only refine and sell at a margin of 20%. We will monitor your production and sales here. We will crash half the price of the product. That's the only way we can do it. But anybody telling you that Watersmith will refine, OPAC will refine, Dangote will refine, and then the price will crash, he's deceiving you.
Okay, so can we return back? Because you were talking about how Nigeria is a gas-rich country, and you're speaking about CNG and how they've done it in other places in the world. But also, you know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a CNG initiative going on right now. They've announced electric buses, and some people are also advocating for LPG. What do you think is better for the Nigerian situation? Because there's a lot about importing these things that we see done abroad, but we have to always specify it to our own economic realities. So which one would you think is a better avenue for us? The electric buses, CNG transportation, or LPG?
CNG. I'll give you, when I read that they are arranging 100 buses, I laughed. Before subsidy was removed, I lead a private sector group of many experts patriotically trying to see how we can create solutions, creative solutions to the Nigerian problem. And we said, for you to, one of the major cost components that our offshoot of this subsidy is transportation cost, because it affects everything. I also tell you, look at the issue of even the AGO that have been subsidized. Most of that is not subsidized. Our major trucks that carry agri products use diesel, but petrol PMS is not subsidized. It's being subsidized now partially. Now we told them very simple, to bring out enough vehicles, which we can even use to track taxation, that will be able to help us to cut cost of transportation. We have about 25,000 vehicles. 25,000 divided among the 774 local government based on land mass. Now, the only way we can do this is to look at the CNG initiative. It has diverse components. You have to process the gas from raw gas, wet gas, to the CNG, to LPG, and to other components of gas processing, which means you have to do gas processing plants in the different sectors. You have to roll out filling stations that can dispense CNG. And that can easily be done. You can work with IPMAN. We have over 25,000 filling stations in Nigeria. You can collocate within those areas. Very simple to do. You have to also look at the storage and the transportation, which is very, very important. You also look at how do you convert existing vehicles to be able to use dual fuel, PMS, and CNG. They've done it in Pakistan. They've done it in India. It's not something, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. It can easily be done in every local government area, set up under a private-public partnership arrangement, areas where cars can be converted. Because you can't convert big SUVs like the Lexus or Land Cruisers. It will be very, very cumbersome. But the little cars, the Korope buses, the other light buses, the sedan that is 4-liter engine can easily be converted. You can even make a financing arrangement with the microfinance banks, where people can take in their car, convert it, and they will pay over 18 months. These things can be done in we have a template. What can be done, how it can be done, when it can be done. In the next 3-4 years, we have over 2 million cars on CNG. We have enough processing plants that will process the gas from the source. We have enough distribution network for it.
Are you saying that the president's rollout plan is not advisable at all? I mean, even the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is saying that we're going to be the largest in electric buses in Africa.
If you bring it, how will you charge the buses? How will you charge the cars? All of us, we know the power supply in Nigeria now. Yeah. Let us face fact. 65% I do not have access to it. Okay, if you drive an electric car to Pambegwa, that is 400 kilometers away from the nearest town, where there is no, how will you charge it if the car breaks down there? We need to think of what works. Electric cars are good.
Tesla going through such little issues in America too?
Tesla, yes, but of course you can't compare America to Nigeria in terms of supply. Yeah, let us face fact. And even our electricity here is subsidized. If we pay the right tariff, most Nigerians will not be able to pay for it. The only areas where you have near to next tariff payment is in Banana Island, is in Ikoyi, is in VI. Go to other areas.
Yeah, but it has to be like that. If Nigerians are not being paid, an appropriate wage.
But we are saying the same thing. Nigerians are not being paid because we are not being empowered. I say it with every sense of responsibility. The average Nigerian with his limbs and leg intact can earn as much as 5,000 naira every day. But we need to create the enabling physical policy, security environment for them to thrive. I'm the kind of person, if I'm going out there, I meet artisans, I try to find out what is their problems and how I can help them. I met a vulcanizer and I spoke with the guy along the Awolowo Road here. The guy tells me that he makes average of 10,000 naira every day.
Correct.
10K every
Correct.
average, after all expenses.
Correct.
We can easily replicate that among the 110 million working population in Nigeria. But we need to put in place the right policy for it. We need to put in place, like this CNG thing. This CNG thing will get 3 million jobs across the value chain. We have the abundant gas reserve for crying out loud. It won't take anything more than $3 billion, non-physical expenses. But we need to put in place the policy, the programs, and we need to measure things. Anything that is not measured is just wasting time and blowing hot air. So we need government that puts KPIs. In the private sector, if they employ you in a bank, you say you can bring $1 billion, you can raise asset of this, you can create profit of this. They will begin to time you. Every week you render your report. Every month you render your report. Every quarter. But here in the port, nobody mail anybody. People will be drinking and dancing around.
You know, there is a current CNG initiative that the president is working on. You know, they have their CNG initiative, and you're saying that it can bring $3 billion. $3 billion? Or
I said $3 billion.
So you approve of the current CNG initiative?
Beautiful.
That the president is working
That should be the next direction. Okay. LPG, CNG, and all the rest of them.
But you've also said earlier that we have coal and we should use it. But, you know, we're talking about the impact of climate change. And as you said, we suffer more here in Nigeria and in the global south than they do there. So should we actually still take advantage of our coal, irregardless of the climate crisis?
This is global politics. The West, how did they industrialize? Have you forgotten that the first train tracks that were laid from Enugu to Port Harcourt was for them to evacuate coal and palm oil?
Yeah.
Who is deceiving who? See, Africa must look inward on how to develop Africa. You see, whenever I hear people say, oh, they are going out there to seek foreign direct investment, we'll sign $13 billion. Let me tell you, if we put in place the right physical governance, transparent and inclusive framework in Nigeria, Nigerian diasporas can easily bring $100 billion annually into this economy. There's a global infrastructure development master plan that was developed under Okonjo-Iweala. To build Nigerian infrastructure from the third world to that of second world will require $3 trillion investment over the next 30 years. $100 billion consistently over the next every year. Do you know we have 5 million plus strong diasporas? I was privileged to work with them when I was in the banking system. As an head of investment bank in all the domestic banks, I work with NIDOA America, NIDOA Europe. I have a group of 800 medical doctors and who earns nothing less than $250 every year.
I like that you said that this is global politics.
It's politics.
You know that the COP president, who is the host of this year's summit, Sultan Al Jaber, was criticized for saying that there is no science out there that suggests that the phase out of fossil fuel will help limit, global warming. And, like you have said, that even Nigeria is not, or, many parts of Africa are not part of the people that contribute to these carbon emission and all of that. What are your thoughts on that?
He's right. And I'll give you an example. The West is very hypocritical about this. I told you here that the level of, what is fossil fuel? The crude oil and crude oil extracts, then the coal and everything that produces carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The level of emission from aviation alone in California in 1 month is bigger than the whole of what happened in West Africa in 1 year. Would they stop flying their aircraft and then start using hydrogen to fly it? Why is it always Africa? Africa's leaders must be able to sit down in the mood of Thomas Sankara and tell these guys, we must develop, let us get to their level first. Then we can now sit down and start talking. If they don't want us to do fossil fuel, then they must put in place a repatriation fund of at least $500 billion that will be coming to us.
Okay, so that leads me to the thought I want to express, because in retrospect, I would like your overall view on what we should take away from COP28, because it looks to me like all the good ideas that ordinarily should have come out of it, they were overshadowed by other things, by the jamboree aspect of it that you mentioned, by the large contingency, by the different things that we're hearing, by item 7 issues that we're hearing about the whole thing. If you recall, last year, President Muhammad Buhari didn't even go to COP27.
Yeah.
He sent his environment minister, but he sent a very strong message about the hypocrisy of the global north that you mentioned.
Yes.
At COP26, it was Vice President Oshibajo, that was there in Glasgow, and he spoke about the very important issue of debt for climate, swap.
Yes.
Which tallies with what you are trying to say. What should be the lesson for government when they go into important global conferences like this, so that the reason why they are there, is not overshadowed by other ancillary things? Because we are hearing already that, people are saying COP30 in Brazil, forgetting that next year is Azerbaijan. As if Azerbaijan will not be important, it won't play the role. How should we get the government to concentrate?
Like I said, we need to get to the level where we have people that love this country. Patriotism, sincerity of purpose and everything. I don't want to get into the point of their jamboree. They argue, 1,410, only 400 were sponsored by the government. But do you know the impact of this trip on the dollar reserves of Nigeria?
Absolutely.
I saw the ESTA code, those that got $2,000 a day, $900 a day. The cost of this on the Nigerian reserve is something else. Have you bothered to ask yourself? I was telling somebody, I said, in February this year, I told them dollar will hit 1,000. Forget the politics and propaganda. It's a simple law of demand and supply. It happened. Somebody told me, it's going to crash December. It's going to come down traditionally. I said, this December is going to be very different. It won't come down. Today, it's 1,202. Black market, 1,195. Why is this so? The diasporans are not coming back. Why are they not coming back? Insecurity. I come from a community known as Ihube. Amagui Ihube Autonomous Community. Local government area.
Which state is that?
Imo State.
Imo State.
There are these Americans, these Nigerians in America. Our people, community, every year they normally come back home to do medical tourism, medical intervention, everything. They spend almost about $50,000 to $100,000. They've got doctors, nurses. This year they're not coming back because of insecurity.
Has it gotten worse?
It's gotten worse. And do you know why they will? And as they are not coming, usually, like other years, they come back, they bring in $100,000. And of course, there are other communities that don't do the same thing. So you see so much dollar inflow during Christmas. So it moderates the FX market.
That's right.
But today, most of them are not coming back because of insecurity. So we should sit down and tackle the most important things here. Tackle insecurity. Do the right things. Put in place the right... See, let me tell you, this country is the most blessed country in the whole world.
The Nigerian police was at COP, by the way. And you know that they unveiled the Nigerian green initiative. I mean, but I think it's... they were there. They were there. It was quite criticized. But he talked about lifestyle change. I am not laughing. I'm speaking. He talked about lifestyle change. Well, by the way, he announced that initiative at the Nigerian pavilion, by the way. But he talked about lifestyle changes, planting trees and all of that. That's what the Nigerian police would be.
Nigerian police has no business with planting trees. I've said this thing. And on national TV, I've said it many times. What are the impacts and how do we curb the impacts? I've given example. And it's still not too late. The 19 governors of the northern states make our plan to cultivate 50,000 hectares of the date palm plantation in clusters of 40 hectares each. Do you know they can actually provide agro rangers? They won't provide cover. Under PP, we've done the numbers. Afro-Exim will fund it. Akiwumi Adesina will give them all the support they need. Funding support.
Yeah.
But they need to put in place the structures in place. See, I feel so saddened. See them running to Abuja to go and share the little fact. I tell you, if they do this, in 5, 6, 7 years, they will be generating $12.5 billion annually over the next 70 years.
If they do it. In
10
seconds, Dr. Obiaraeri, before we have to go, do you see hope at all?
I see hope. If there's no hope, we are all dead.
Absolutely.
I see hope. Listen, let me tell you, what is happening. I will say Christian, I said somebody working. I said, similar thing happened in Samaria. Things were so bad. We've not gotten to that level. Women were killing their children to do barbecue. It's there.
Where?
In Bible, Samaria.
Oh, okay.
It got so bad. A quarter of a dung of animal people sold for 5 pieces of silver. But a time came when God will intervene. This land, this is a beautiful land. We must not hope. And one day, God will touch their hearts. They will do the right things. They know the right things to do because they hear us every day. But they lack the discipline, the rigor,
absolutely,
the patriotism. compassion to help the poor and to help rebuild this land. It's not enough to build mansions.
Without all those that you listed, it will be tough to have our hopes renewed. That's where I'm.
Our hope is renewed, and we'll keep on hoping. I will tell you. See, to be very fair, Bola Tinubu has a very good team. But our prayer is that God should touch them to apply that discipline and rigor,
so that we can have
the promised hope.
All right, the promised hope. Dr. Obiaraeri, on that note, we would like to thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.
Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed.